We live in a new age, and it's time for us to upgrade our tinfoil hats. Operation Tinfoil is a freedom-focused small business and trusted sponsor of this show. Their super comfortable new line of beanies and baseball caps will not only crown your skull in style, but each of these dome defenders is lined with a silver mesh that blocks up to 99% of EMF radiation from cell phone towers, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and yes, even 5G. We don't know what EMF radiation does to the brain long term, but neither do they, so don't be their guinea pig and don't wait around to find out. Get your stylish tinfoil hat of the future today at gettinfoil.com. Use the promo code SYSTEM for $10 off your order. Again, that's gettinfoil.com. Use the promo code SYSTEM for $10 off your order. Have you guys heard of Matt Miller? He's not only the guy who paints those amazing portraits of all your favorite heroes in the Liberty Movement and in pop culture, but he's also now an official sponsor of this show. From Murray Rothbard to Ron Paul, Dr. Robert Malone to Darth Maul, Matt Miller's Liberty Portraits has something fun for everyone to spice up your home or office and showcase your heroes. Go check out his incredible work at libertyportraits.com. Grab a print to impress your friends, hire him for a custom portrait, or bring him out to a festival to capture your event in real life in a beautiful and unique way. To find out more, just head over to libertyportraits.com. Once again, that is libertyportraits.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the least comfortable show on the web. It is The System Is Down, where we talk about all the uncomfortable topics like conspiracies, politics, and religion, and all the things that trigger you. But I know it's Monday evening. This is very, very unplanned and abnormal for this show, but when Clay Clark actually has an hour to give us on a Monday evening, we will take it. Absolutely, we will. Before we get into that, I want to recommend that you all go out and share this right now. YouTube hates us, as you all know. Go out and defy the algorithms by sharing the show with a friend as the intro rolls and as I run through these credits and thank my first and foremost favorite sponsor, you guys in the Downers Club. People like Silas Lane, Jason Brunson, Joey Ferguson, Dave vs. Goliath, Perry Nord, Andrew Troit, Crystal, Autumn, Danielle, Ryan, Patrick, Matt, Catholic something, Gigi Vaughn, Zareth Anarchy, Heffalumps, Woozles, Level Zero. You guys have some fun names. Fun names. It's like you're trying to make sure that I can't possibly read them in the amount of time that I've given myself. So, it is on you. If you came up with a ridiculous name, that is your fault. But if you would like me to improperly possibly read your name, go on over to patreon.com/thesystemIsDown and sign up for the Downers Club, where you can get more weird, more raw, more offensive, more weekly content. That's bonus episodes of the show every single week. We'll be doing after party after the Wednesday episode of the News Roast, so be sure to tune in for that. But go to patreon.com/thesystemIsDown and support this show in one of the few ways that I am still allowed to encourage you to do. Yes, I know it's Patreon, but do it anyway. Patreon.com/thesystemIsDown. All right, we're going to play this, then we're going to get into it with our wonderful guests here today. But again, go out, share the show, and let's get weird.
The following is a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
Remember a simpler time when it was okay to be weird, have fun, and think for yourself?
Well, those days are over. The art of conversation itself is dead. Sacrificed on the altar of divide and conquer and disguised as political correctness and spared feelings. I believe that unity can only come from truth, and that the only way to find truth is by exploring and embracing our valuable differences and having civil, open-minded, and uncomfortable discourse. Conspiracies, politics, religion, and all the taboo topics your family just praise and don't bring up around the Thanksgiving dinner table. We are here to literally change the world one uncomfortable conversation at a time. So if you're easily offended, put your big girl panties on and buckle up, Buttercup, because you chose to be here. I'm Dan Smots, you are the power, and this is The System Is Down.
All right. So we did this a couple months back. We had Clay on to talk about his Reawaken America tour, which I find fascinating, but we didn't have very much time to really dig into the meat and potatoes of stuff, and I know some of you guys even complained about the lack of time that we had, and I've already spent way too much time on this intro, so let's get into it right now. Let's do what you are here for. Here is the one, the only, Mr. Clay Clark, and his guest, whose name I don't remember. I'm sorry. What was your name again?
Friend. His name's Aaron Antis, and Aaron runs one of the largest home building companies in Oklahoma, and we were
Nice.
doing an interview today in the studio with Eric Trump, President Trump's son.
Mhm.
And so Eric helps me a lot on the tour, and so he was here today. So I thought he could join on this uncomfortable interview.
Absolutely. Yes. We dug into this a little bit last time. I want to get a little bit of your backstory. If people want the extended version, we talked about that a lot more, like the origin story of Clay, on, I don't remember which episode, but just go search for it on the systemisdown.tv or on YouTube. But Clay, for those that don't know you, give the quick elevator pitch for you and what you do.
Well, I found out, by the way, that the Rolling Stone is doing a full page, whatever that is, about us, I think tomorrow or the next day. So we'll see what they...
All good things, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, all good things. I'll just say this. I'm going to start with the low points and maybe build up from there, okay? I grew up without money. A lot of people, we all grow up in different ways, and you say, did you know you were poor? Yes, I did. A lot of yellow boxes in the cupboards.
Right.
And then I started an entertainment company out of my parents' basement when I was 15 years old. I was called C&G DJ Service because Mark G. Haugen was my friend, middle initial G. And Mark G. Haugen, who had a car. I didn't have a car. He had a car. That was the connection there. He would drive. I would DJ. And we grew that business. And then when I went to college, I turned it into DJconnection.com, and I quickly grew it into, and a lot of this was pre-internet right up into the internet. So 99, 2000, all of a sudden I was entrepreneur of the year for the city of Tulsa, for the Metro Chamber of Commerce. I was 20 years old. I was 23, 24. We were doing 4,000 events a year, weddings, birthdays, corporate events. And what happens is once you win business awards, you start to get weird invitations from people that you don't necessarily, groups you don't necessarily want to be a part of. Let me give you an example. Like you'll get the Chamber of Commerce will call you and say, you should come speak at this event. And the mayor would like to meet you. But yet the mayor, who's like a pro, the mayor of Tulsa, when you describe Kathy Taylor, very big government,
definitely big,
very
government.
Bloomberg,
Mm-hmm.
very
for sure.
So the mayor of Tulsa is, giving me an award. And the governor's giving you an award. You go to D.C. to meet the senators and Congress people who make your life difficult. And you're supposed to receive awards from them. And I was 27, and I told my wife, I cannot do politics.
Yep.
So I put my head down and decided I'm never going to get involved in politics, okay? Now, a buddy by the name of Carl gave me a copy of the Rockefeller Plan in my hand in 2011, 2012-ish. And so at this point, I was 32, and I read it. I'm going, quarantines, curfews, lockdowns, forced vaccinations. Aaron, was it page 16?
18.
Page 18 gets it. The Rockefeller Plan, by the way.
Lockstep.
Yeah, you can download this, folks, by going to time2freeamerica.com/revelation. So here I am, a guy. I've sold my companies, okay? I've got a photography business I built, an entertainment company. I'm doing consulting now for dentists, doctors, lawyers. My career is very documented now because it's on the internet now because the internet's everywhere. So 2007 and beyond, it's on the internet. If you go to thrivetimeshow.com and you click on testimonials, you can see most of it's all documented there. All of a sudden, I'm in Fast Company and Bloomberg and all this sort of stuff, and interviewing, the who's who. You got your Wolfgang Puck, your John Maxwell's, your Damon Johns, and I'm doing the interview thing from Tulsa. And then 2019, I was doing my thing. I'm in my hot tub, hanging out with my great wife and my kids. And here comes the Rockefeller Plan. And I'm going, come on, man. Why is Trump having Fauci up there? What? Come on, man. Why is he having Deborah Birx, the scarf queen, up there? Come on. Don't people have any idea? What? Pence? Why is Pence up there? Pence? Mark Meadows? Are you kidding me? And so I just, I called Aaron and I said, well, we got to sue the mayor of Tulsa to keep the city open.
Yep.
We got to turn our building into a church, which still is a church every Thursday because the churches were closed.
Yep.
We got to fight back. And so Aaron and I and Dr. Zellner and a bunch of I call them Oklahomies, a bunch of us fought back. And somehow the Reawaken America tour came out of that. And I would credit it mostly to God. I would just say I'm very organized and very aggressive. Those are like the two skill sets God's given me. Very aggressive, very organized, and here we are, and I'm open for any questions you want to ask. I will say one disclaimer, though. The thumbnail that I think was used for today's show was taken from a drawing that Darlin Tucker, who sits right over here behind the glass, did for my book called Boom years ago. And I had no idea about any of this Illuminati deep state stuff. And all I knew is my nickname in the office is Claytron, because today and every day I don't take breaks and I really don't do lunch.
Yeah.
And so he thought that'd be a cool design for my book, because everyone calls me Claytron. Let's make a kind of a Terminator hybrid.
When I met you, everybody was like, this guy's a machine. He just works. He never stops working. He never takes breaks.
And then Gina says, why do you have an Illuminati book cover? And I'm going, what?
So I was going to bring that up later. I know that a lot of the conspiracy people are legitimately crazy about their symbolism and stuff. I think it's interesting to dig into and all that, but I understand like people will take anything that possibly even looks slightly off, like the number 13 is evil and he had 13 reasons in this book or whatever. That's just a bit far for me. But I did want to bring that up at some point. Was that like before you started digging into the conspiracy stuff a little bit more that you made some of these books?
Well, I've been doing business. Yeah, if you go to thrivetimeshow.com and you see the books, Boom is a book I teach at my workshops every 2 months. Boom right there. The Boom with the there you go. So Boom is a book. I've been teaching that, and I update that every I don't know, 6 months or so. Then you got Boom on the left. And that one, I want to say the first time we printed an office copy of that, it probably was 2016, 15, the one with the Terminator Eye. The Art of Getting Things Done. I always write copies for the conferences, and then once they sell a lot, then we'll publish another one. And I think that one was like maybe 2018, 2017. And then The Art of Getting Things Done, Lynn Wood was pointing out on his Telegram that my book had an Illuminati-looking cover. So I redid the cover, and I put great pro tips in there on how to get things done. And then I also snuck in some marriage tips in there as well.
Which, by the way, it's a great book. Both of those are great books.
I have not read them, so I have not condoning or condemning it. Like I assume they're great, and I'm a big fan of your work. So I want to preface by saying, the work that you do for helping people in businesses and stuff like that, I think is fascinating, and even bringing all these fascinating minds together at your tour, I think is incredible. And whether or not I or you agree with all of them, who cares? Like, these people need to be heard, and they're being silenced. So I think that's great.
I would love to wrestle with the people you don't agree with, because I would love to know, because you and your audience are truth seekers. I mean, that's what you do. I've done my research on you. Anybody you have concerns, I would love to hear it. Would love to ask questions about it, because again, I'm the one who chooses every speaker on the tour.
Yep.
And Aaron and I were just talking recently, and I'm not going to mention the guy's name. I probably shouldn't have even mentioned the gender, but Aaron's like, "What is that person doing at our events?" And I'm going, "Here's the deal." And so again, I'm the one who decides on all of them. So if people don't like the speakers, my fault. If you do.
Sure.
I literally choose them all. So any problems with them, it's my fault.
Gotcha. Well, my biggest issue, which I mentioned last time you were on the show, but we didn't have as much time to get into it. But I agree with you on basically 95 to 99% of everything. The problems I see, the conspiracy stuff, I agree with you on. The vaccine stuff, I agree with you on. The Trump is better than Biden stuff, I agree with you on. But the problem that I see is in the glorification of Trump, like Trump being, not that you've said that he is the only possible savior or answer or anything like that, but just I don't trust the guy, and you're obviously much closer to him than I am, so I want to dig a little bit deeper into that.
Well, let's do this. J.D. Farag is a pastor. J.D. Farag, F-A-R-A-G, who is doing sermons where he believes that President Trump is not on our team.
Sure.
And he'll do sermons about it. And I'm saying that because someone's probably found those. What I looked at is, let's just, if I were president, let's just say if I was president, how would I do it? Mm-hmm. So the first thing, I want everyone to just jot this down, look it up, assume I'm crazy, but just please understand how I make decisions. I make it from a biblical perspective, if at all I can. Okay.
Sure.
And John 14:15 reads, "If ye love me, keep my commandments." So who am I preaching to? I'm preaching to myself. Mm-hmm. So am I following God's commandments? Am I? So I'm trying to first off, look at myself and go, am I following God's commandments? All right. Second thing, if you look at the Bible and you look at David as an example, David was a guy, for anybody out there who doesn't know a whole lot about David, David was a man of action. He was a man who was fearless. and I'm reading this Bible verse. It's Proverbs 9:10. It says, "For the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of holy is understanding." But yet David, Aaron, you went to Bible college.
Yes, sir.
But David did have an extramarital affair. Am I correct?
He sure did, and he was a killer.
And he sent he slept with this guy's wife.
Yep.
And he sent the guys who
he sent her husband.
He sent her
to
husband
the front lines of the battle
to get him
knowing
killed.
that he would get killed.
Yeah, and so David, you could say that David was like a murderous adulterer.
He was.
But yet it says in the Bible that he was after God's own heart. So what does that mean? God forgives, So when I look at the standards that I would set for Trump, to my knowledge, he's never sent a man into war to have him killed to cover up an affair.
Not that I know of.
Right. But I'm also saying, and another example would be Saul in the Bible used to feed Christians to lions, but then God revealed himself and he became Paul, and he wrote 13 books of the Bible. Some theologians say 14.
Yeah, Book of Hebrews.
Yeah, so these are that's kind of how I look at it. So President Trump did put in 3 conservative Supreme Court justices that did overturn Roe versus Wade.
And he said he was going to do it. Then he went and did what he said he was going to do. He said it in the debate against Hillary.
So I like that.
Do it.
I like that.
Sure.
I like the naming Jerusalem as the the capital city of Israel. I love that. Making that I love that. The moving the embassy there, I should say. Yeah. I love that President Trump began the process of building a wall. Like that.
After he said he was going to do it.
Like that. I like the whole symbolic lowering of taxes.
Now let me cut in just for a minute. I've heard you say that you lean libertarian, but you're more of but you vote conservative because of the people. I'm getting feedback from you guys. Is that coming on your end too?
I don't think that's me. Let me just. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think we're good.
All right. It's echoing back here, but I'll make do. I'm just easily distracted. But I don't remember what I was saying.
You said you were libertarian. You said that you mentioned I was libertarian.
Yeah, so you being more libertarian, like a lot of these things don't necessarily add up. Like even what some would call Zionism of like catering to Israel and stuff like that. Like the conspiracy world goes all sorts of ways, and especially the libertarian conspiracy world goes all sorts of ways. But things like a wall and I'm personally not an open borders guy, but I also think that the wall isn't necessarily doing anything as well. And it's Biden's wall now too. So I don't know. Like,
thank you, Biden.
What's that?
I said thank you, Biden.
Yes, it's Biden's racist border wall now, and he can have it. I don't know. So some of my biggest issues are on the COVID stuff, though. Like Operation Warp Speed.
That's a disaster. Operation Warp Speed is absolutely not something that anybody should be encouraging, should be endorsing. Inside the shots, there's RNA, modifying nanotechnology, a.k.a. CRISPR technology. And I know some people, I just heard a lot of words in a row that maybe you don't talk about on a daily basis, but I want to just cite my sources briefly so people know what exactly is inside these shots. Okay, so this would be Jennifer Doudna, Doudna. Walter Isaacson did a book about her. Okay, and this book is about basically decoding or breaking the code. And she spoke at the World Economic Forum on February 24th of 2015 about CRISPR. And if it's okay, I just want to play a little 30-second clip so people can understand what's inside these shots. This is insanity. Listen to this.
So this story really starts with DNA. You probably know that DNA is the code of life that gives cells the ability to function, gives organisms the ability to develop. Imagine that we had a tool whereby we could actually fix individual mutations in DNA, much like you would do with a word processor to cut and paste and edit text. What if we had a text editor for DNA in cells? And it turns out that now we do. We were able to engineer this as a 2-component system, a single protein and a single RNA that provides scientists with the ability to program this enzyme as a molecular scalpel to cut double-stranded DNA at sites that are directed by this piece of RNA.
Tell us a little bit about the study that just came out of
This is Peter McCullough, final clip.
Sweden that is just so alarming.
The news is buzzing out of Lund University, Malmo, Sweden. Marcus Alden is the first author. The first demonstration in a human hepatic or liver cell line that the Pfizer vaccine, in fact, reverse transcribes and installs DNA into the human genome.
And this book, again, I referenced is called The Code Breaker by Walter Isaacson, where it sort of praises this gene editing CRISPR technology that can be delivered via the mRNA technology found in the shots, which was developed by Robert Malone. So I'm totally against those shots.
Okay. But Trump is not. So again, I agree with you on pretty much all the things.
I'm against school, and my wife is in favor of school, just so we're clear, too. I hate school with a passion. So I'm libertarian, but my thing is, like, I want to homeschool my kids. My wife wanted to put them in private school, but I just wanted to be clear. I love my wife, and I vote for my wife consistently. However, I'm definitely against school. So I just want to give you that example that's kind of close to home. Sure. It's like we disagree on the idea of school, but yet we still agree on the idea of marriage. You know what I mean? So it's like you cast your vote. So I definitely agree that if given the chance to vote between Biden or Trump, I'm going Trump.
Same.
However, I had an interview with Peter Navarro. You were not here. It was on Friday. Yeah. But Peter Navarro, who is Trump's right-hand man in office, just so we're clear, when Trump went into office, he wanted to have Flynn over here and Navarro over here. Mm-hmm. Navarro hopped on my stage at the Reawaken America tour in San Antonio. Mm-hmm. It fielded questions from the audience about the shots.
That was interesting.
And a guy from Texas says, we did open mic. Check this out. You would not see this at CPAC. I mean, unprepped questions. Yeah. So a guy says, I got to ask you something. So why are you pushing them shots? And Peter Navarro says, well, you got to look at it. Operation Warp Speed was designed to help elderly people with comorbidities. And the crowd starts booing. Boo! Yeah, it was. I mean, it was wild, bro.
It was pretty.
I mean, my wife came back from the break room backstage, the green room, and she's like, "What is going on?"
She said, "What happened?"
It was like the scene from the Blues Brothers where people are throwing stuff against the chicken wire. I mean, there wasn't people throwing stuff, but I mean, they were pissed.
They were.
I mean, our audience is awake, not woke, awake. Yeah.
Right.
And so I talked to Peter offline, and we talked, and I can say last Friday when I filled in for Alex Jones. He said on the show, he said, Clay, what I've learned now after my own research, I've learned that all the documentation provided to us from Pfizer, Moderna, whatever, all that was bogus, and those shots hurt people's immune systems. So that's the first time I've heard him say that out loud, and he talks to Trump often. I do not. I've never spoken to President Donald J. Trump, but eventually I hope to.
That was 5 months ago that he had a different opinion on that. And
right.
He's changed. He's reversed.
So I don't know. That's what I'm trying to do, just get to people who are close to him and wake them up, and eventually I hope I can sneak into Mar-a-Lago.
Well, yeah, I mean,
sneak in there.
I would also say this, Clay. I mean, we've been in touch with so many different political leaders all over the country. We've talked to our mayors and governors and senators and other mayors and governors and senators, and I've sat with you and we've explained stuff to them to see if we can get them to change their perspective. Just like that day with Peter Navarro, as soon as you stepped off stage, I had a conversation with him. Then you had a conversation with him. And I mean, here we are 5 months later. He's
two attorney generals this year have switched their position as a result of conversations we've had. Yeah. But man, it's frustrating when someone's pushing it because those things harm people.
Yeah. So my issue, like with Trump, I just don't want it to be another QAnon situation where it's like this hopium moment of like we're all going to sit around and waiting for somebody to be our savior when we've got Trump be like not just Operation Warp Speed but like bragging about being vaxxed and boosted still hasn't spoken out against the vax mandate, still thinks the vaccine is going to stop a pandemic, like things like that seem like stuff that somebody of your conspiracy persuasion would be opposed to.
Well, this is the thing. This is why this Rolling Stone reporter who shadowed me for a couple of weeks was sort of baffled, as he's like, and again, I'm not putting words on the mouth of the reporter. I'm just trying to clarify this idea. But it's like, if what you're saying is true, this is really embarrassing for a lot of Republicans, and a lot of Democrats. And I'm going, it's called the truth.
Yeah.
And so this is why I have very, very few friends, but the ones that I have, I'm very close with. Because I can't do And I'll just give you an example. I've been this weekend going off about the Apocrypha. I've spent like probably 40 hours in the past 5 days of studying the Apocrypha. But in the have you gone into the Apocrypha on this show? Have you talked about the Apocrypha?
Not a ton, but a bit. We've talked about Nephilim and stuff like that.
Okay, well, so the Apocrypha, this is what I know so far, okay, is that Yuval Noah Harari, and Yuval Noah Harari is the top guy for Klaus Schwab. He's like the right-hand man of Klaus Schwab. This is Yuval Noah Harari.
Mm-hmm.
And he launched, he's a big fan of this thing called Operation Gilgamesh. And if people go to my rumble.com channel, you can listen to this. But he loves Operation Gilgamesh. And Klaus Schwab, they love it. They're into it, okay? Because the fourth industrial revolution is supposed to change you through gene editing, which only those CRISPR RNA modified nanotechnology shots can do. So, well, Gilgamesh and the Nephilim and these sorts of things are by and large not present. I mean, you can find them in Genesis and et cetera, but they're by and large not super omnipresent in the Bible, right? So I started looking back and going, when did the Apocrypha? Now, I went to Oral Roberts University, okay? I got kicked out of Oral Roberts University, too, by the way, by asking tough questions.
Nice.
But I remember when I had my Old Testament class, I asked the teacher, I'm like, can someone please explain to me why approximately 120 years ago they ripped them out of the Bible? Yeah. And my teacher's assistant said to me, he said, well, there's two reasons. And again, I'm not holding him accountable. I'm saying, he said to me, he goes, and this is in front of a big class, though. He says, well, one, it was harder to print. That's like saying that you chopped out. That's like, Kubrick's movie Eyes Wide Shut, where he's tried to expose the deep state. Mm-hmm. And they said, well, we had to cut out a third of the movie because, the length of the movie. Yeah.
And we specifically cut out all the interesting parts, too.
Right. There we go. So I'm just saying that the idea that you would cut out parts of the Word of God because of the printing convenience, that's a very weird justification. But then also I said, who just made the decision? And they're going, well, largely it was Martin Luther. And I said, well, what other books did they want to rip out? And they're like, well, they definitely wanted to rip out Revelation and James and the 14 books of the Apocrypha. And I'm going, well, Revelation's like the only book in the Bible that starts off by explicitly saying you'll be blessed if you read it.
Sure.
And here we got Operation Gilgamesh, which is where you're merging man with machine, the Nephilim, fallen angels mating with humans. And it's gone. And so all I can say is I do the Bible. I do Jesus Christ. I do God. I believe in that. I have a hard time with 501c3s. I have a hard time with the RNC. I have a hard time with the DNC. I have a hard time with any really group of three. Just any. Because they start to make
about the
these
Father,
weird,
the Son, the Holy Spirit. Those
you
kind
get the idea. I believe in the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. But you know what I'm saying, though? It's like anytime you get three or more people together, they start to have rituals and traditions and weird things they do because they've always done it. And so I feel like what I'm doing on the tour is trying to get like Bobby Kennedy Jr. on the same stage with General Flynn, both of which who believe that the vaccines are the most dangerous things to the immune system and to humanity of all time, on the same stage with Eric Trump and saying, you guys figure it out.
Sure.
It is interesting because I've spoken to both of them at the events and backstage.
Yeah.
And heard them say how much they dislike the vaccine. And it's like, but there's so many other things that are maybe not going to line up.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting to see that perspective from those two.
Yeah, and I don't know, with the draining of the swamp, do you feel like Trump did everything in his power to drain the swamp when he had the opportunity? With people like John Bolton and Fauci?
Well, let me do this. Let's say that I was president. I'll put myself in that position for a second.
Sure.
Say that you were, I was, whatever. I was going to rip on myself. If you go in and you're president, you have to meet 50 governors, 50 lieutenant governors, Congress, Senate, and your own staff. Now, when I went to the White House, I was invited to the White House. I've never met President Trump, but I was invited to be about 20 feet away from him to attend a deregulation summit in July. Okay? And my wife, July of 2020, my wife was invited to go. It's 2020, July 2020.
It was 2020.
Yeah. So we go there. And my wife cannot get in because her name's not on the list, right? Even though she was invited by Hogan Gidley, the White House press secretary. And so I met Hogan, talked to Hogan, and Hogan's a great guy. And my understanding is that President Trump brought in Hogan Gidley. But even though he brought in Hogan Gidley, somehow between Hogan Gidley and me, my wife couldn't get into the event. We didn't make it happen. But what I'm saying is the RNC was passionate about putting Mike Pence as his right-hand man. And we know that Mike Pence received some sort of weird gold coin when he certified the fraudulent election.
The elbow bump.
Yes.
Gold
And we
coin.
know that Mike Pence blocked any of the doctors on our tour. This is before the tour. Any of the doctors who are friends of mine, Dr. Zelenko, the late, great Dr. Zelenko, Simone Gold, Dr. Tenpenny, every time I tried to set up a meeting between these people who are now speakers on the tour and the Trump administration, they would get blocked by Pence.
Yep.
So I would talk to people who were closer to Trump, and they would go, well, that goes through Pence. And I'm like, what? So that was weird. And then Mark Meadows, who I've never met, he keeps pushing Big Pharma. And then you look at like DeSantis, who, in my opinion, is doing a great job verbally in Florida and doing a great job in many of the actions. He also was put into office in Florida with many connections to Big Pharma. So I think, but then also I kind of have big connections to the deep state because I wear Nike shoes sometimes. No, I'm serious. And then I'm doing this show on an Apple computer. I'm not sure what kind of computer you're using, but an Apple computer, you see what Apple's doing right now.
That's right.
With what Tim Cook is doing. Tim Cook, we're talking about turning your phone into a spy device, next level. We're talking about him siding with China over the microchips right now. And I just feel like the whole world, our dollar bills, now that I know what I know about the symbolism, our dollar bills have the freaking Illuminati eye on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem. Our currency, the Federal Reserve, isn't federal, and there is no reserve. Right. If you look at some of the symbolism in D.C., you're like, what's that monument for again? So all I could say is I think that the swamp is like a all-encompassing, super gross group of people that have sold their soul for money years ago. And then there's a lot of them in the RNC. And so I think when President Trump lost his position as president and he was outside of the White House, what I heard from those close to him is he's now 100% aware of who was not on his team. And I guess most notably would be Mike Pence and his ilk. So could he have done more? Yes. I think step one would be, I'm not sure how that works if you fire your vice president day one, but I'm serious. His press secretary, Spicer, he had to go through and got criticized in the media for turning over his staff a lot, but he had to go through a lot of these people.
Well, he actually probably turned over more of his staff in that first maybe 90 to 120 days than any president I can remember in recent history. I think he was trying to find going, oh, they're not on my team. Oh, they're not on my team.
I was hoping you would see
he was getting a lot of flack for it.
And I've met Ben Carson. I was hoping to see Trump Ben Carson. That's what I wanted right there.
Sure.
Because Ben, again, I don't know how much. I don't know. I just know I've talked to Ben. I've connected with him, done shows with him. I feel like Ben is the real deal, or at least from what I can tell. And I felt like that having Ben and Carson and Trump would have been a great thing. But Pence, right away, I'm going, Pence? Because I knew a little bit about Pence, and I'm going, this guy's the worst.
I also think, just on another note, I think that our country had its eyes so closed to what the deep state even was prior to Trump than it is right now. Like if you think about it this way, and I was saying this to Clay earlier today, when a person doesn't have a relationship with God, they're in a place where they just can't look in the mirror and see themselves for the way that they are. And then through the work of the Holy Spirit, people begin to see what's going on, see the sin in their life, see what's not right. And I feel like as a nation, we kind of gone through that time during Trump where we started to look at the nation in the mirror and really recognize some of the truths about the deep state and the corrupt media and the medical and big pharma.
And even people
and I think he pulled a lot of that to the surface and woke a lot of people up to.
Yeah, there was definitely a silver lining. And I think there was a silver lining to Trump being president, to COVID, even to Biden being president now. There's always silver linings, and a lot of it is just this progression of waking people up to realizing what shit's going on in the world. But somebody mentioned in the comments the January 6th stuff. I take issue with January 6th happening. I think it was stupid, but also they were at least targeted. I take more issue with Donald Trump kind of throwing him under the bus after that. He's hasn't really said anything about it other than condemning the people as rioters.
Here's the comments I can make that I can speak of firsthand. I met Ashley Babbitt's mother.
Sure.
She came to the tour.
Yep.
Expressed my condolences there. I believe in due process. And for anybody out there, I know your listeners know what due process is, but the way it should work is if you're accused of a crime, you should be given the freedom to have a fair trial. It's both speedy and fair, right?
Mm-hmm.
The jury of your peers.
Yep.
How long have these people been held in prison now?
Long time.
Far too long.
I mean,
longer than Jussie Smollett, we'll say.
Well, I mean, the other day I got trapped in this room in the studio, figuratively speaking, because I was doing so many interviews, and it was getting kind of hot, and there were some flies in here because someone left the door open.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, this is rough. I got to go home and take a shower. These people have been kept in solitary confinement, and what I've been told are some of the worst conditions for a year and a half.
Year and a half at least, yeah.
I mean, so I can't verbally express with enough enthusiasm how passionate I am about giving those people a fair trial.
Yeah.
You know, right now. But this idea of we're going to keep
like
you in
a year and a
jail
half
for
ago.
a year and a half, and then we're going to give you a trial now after a year and a half, and then we're going to sentence you for 7 years after. I mean, so there are so many things that America's being assaulted on right now. You know, one of our good friends, I won't mention his name, but he's a very successful real estate professional in Tulsa. Mm-hmm. And his kids go to a school in Tulsa. It's pretty well known. It's pretty respected in Tulsa. Mm-hmm. And they want all the kids to name their genders right now and their pronouns. And that just woke him up.
Right.
And he's going, are you kidding me?
Right.
But then we've got mutual friends of ours who are in medical in Tulsa. And I see a lot of them capitulating and pushing the vaccines and actually staffing for vaccinators and pushing the vaccinators and pushing. And they're like, well, I just got to keep my job. And I see teachers teaching the woke stuff everywhere. Mm-hmm. Just talked to a lady yesterday who I thought was our long-term friend. I don't know what happened. And she was telling me about the movie Black Mirror, which, by the way, as you've all Noah Harari's dream, Black Mirror. It's a Netflix series.
Yeah. Yep.
And was sort of speaking fondly about the transhumanism agenda. And I talked to a reporter who I've thought I've known forever for the Associated Press. And this is like a year ago. He told me that Yuval Noah Harari is the best. He's trying to offer people eternal life. I mean, I'm just seeing people. So I go back to the Bible and I'm like, man, I really hope that God knows my heart. And I hope I live it, because it says, John 14:5, if you love me, keep my commandments. So I really hope I do a better job. And I really want President Trump to stop pushing those vaccines. Not even vaccines.
I'm with you. If he would stop, I would trust him a little bit more. Like it's like I can. At what point do you get off the Trump train? Because it's like
I'm not even on the Trump train. I'm on the train that says I'm not on the Biden train.
Sure. Yeah. At what point does
being on the railroad tracks, being hit by a train?
Is there something that Trump could do that would make you like not vote for him, even, or not? I don't know.
I always have to vote. I'm always at the vote. You know, always vote. I will always vote, and I'm always going to vote for one of whoever the candidates are. I can tell you I had a very thoughtful conversation with Eric Trump a while back, and we went really deep into everything you might talk about on your show. What's in the shots, patents, who made the patents, why they made the patents. But Eric's the first to tell you he doesn't speak for his father. Yeah. So, you know, Eric is, if you meet Eric, he's probably one of the most level-headed people I know.
Very much so.
Very sincere. He manages the family's businesses. Peter Navarro is now speaking. You know, Mike Lindell actually calls them the Mark of the Beast shots from the stage often. So, like Mike Lindell has gone as far as calling them not the vaccines or the COVID-19. He says, "Oh, you mean the Mark of the Beast shots?" I've seen him do this multiple times. So, I mean, I would hope at some point that
a lot of people right around Donald Trump.
But a lot of these people are on our tour.
Yeah, they're on.
And I'm trying to the best example I can give you is there was a lady who we knew in our family very well, who was married to a person who was perpetually unfaithful. Perpetually. And we would go, and it's not my deal to get in someone's marriage, okay? But the person would come to us, knock on the door. Hey, can I come in? It's like, midnight. It's 10 o'clock. I'm like, come on. Because the first time you care, the fifth time, I don't know. And you're like, hey, listen. No, I'm serious. And I'm going, hey, listen. This person is unfaithful. You gotta stop. Stop going back to the, And they're no, but they'll be fine. I trust. We'll make it work. And I kind of feel like that's a little bit with Trump with the vaccines. It's a little bit like, bro, you're doing so many things well. I like so much. I can't relate to the stress, the attacks. I can't. I mean, I'm going to vote for you versus Biden, whatever.
There's a part of me that wonders if it's like just an ego thing of like, yes, I made this thing and I took so much credit for it in the beginning. So if it sucks now, then I have to take credit for that as well. So we're going to keep pretending like it's working well, which is not only stupid, it's very dangerous and,
Navarro,
it's disrespectful to his following.
Came out, Navarro, as recently as a Friday, so Friday, this would be 4 days ago, Navarro said on our show, was the Alex Jones show, we were filling in on InfoWars, but he said, Clay, all the data that we were shown by Pfizer, Moderna, whatever, was falsified. We were misled. We trust those documents because the way they're supposed to be vetted, prepared, et cetera, and we were misled. So I'm telling you, he said it on the show. So, I mean, I hope that President Trump comes out against those shots at some point. That'd be just great. It's all I want for Christmas and Easter, which turns out those might be pagan hopes. I mean, Jesus Christ, I believe in. No, I'm serious.
It's true, yeah.
But it's like, this is what I find myself in right now. I'm just judging myself. Hopefully this show, I'm
Easter's
judging
Passover. It should be Passover.
Right, and I'm judging myself now because it's like, guys, you guys want to do an Easter egg hunt? And some of the speakers are like, don't you know? It's a pagan holiday. Those eggs are satanic. I'm going, wait, and I look it up and I'm going, man.
Yeah.
And they go, man? Why did you say man? I'm like, it was a phrase of frustration. They go, well, man actually comes from, and I'm like, I didn't mean it. And then they're like, you doing this is a symbol of, and I'm going, I don't know. And they're, your hands, look at your hands. What are you doing with your hands right now? So there's a little bit of that right now.
Yeah, it's funny. I saw earlier today somebody was talking about you and like bringing up the symbolism and stuff in it, and like there's something to some of that, like that I think should probably be avoided for the sake of avoiding confusion. Obviously, you changed the coverage stuff too, but I just mean like. I don't know, like the designs and stuff like that. I don't have a problem with it personally, and I know that you probably didn't mean anything by putting those designs in there. You were unaware of the conspiracy community at the time.
I wasn't even aware, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't design the book covers, and D, who works here, I'm not throwing under the bus, he designs them, and I just want people to know I have 18 books out right now. So when I write a book, I'm like, okay, best of 3, which one do people like the most? You know, because I like what's in the book, but which one's going to get the most reads? And I'll usually throw it to a group of people, and they'll go, that one. I go, okay, great, that one. Because that's kind of how I pick it. Now I'm really going, wait a minute. This book cover has 6 words on it. So I'm overthinking everything.
But it's funny because you mentioned like the hand signs and stuff like that. And I was watching this video earlier today doing a little digging, and they brought up the okay sign, and they're like, see, it's the 666 thing. And I was like, oh, yeah, that was the 666 thing before it was the white power hoax and all that. It's like, you like pick your poison. Who are you offending when you accidentally put your index finger in your thumb together? It's like it's nonsense. But
well, I just encourage people when you look at and judge me, that's totally fine. But I just encourage everybody to read John 14:15 and judge yourself tonight too, because God's very clear. If you want to be a friend of His, you have to follow His commandments, and I think that's important. I wrote that down on Sunday at my church sermon, and I thought about it all day Sunday. And around 7 p.m., I thought, "Oh no! What if God wasn't joking around here? What if this wasn't a sarcastic person?"
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I am curious, like, because I come from a big conservative Christian upbringing and all that. My dad was a pastor, and I saw all the televangelists and stuff like that who were snake oil salesmen. A lot of them, come to find out many years later.
Put your hands on the screen.
Yep.
Tenfold. Okay.
Send $50 now, and we will send you a piece of paper that Jesus touched, or something like that. But, so, like, I'm not trying to call you a televangelist, but you do give off those vibes. If I didn't know that you were a entrepreneur, DJ, especially, and like MC and all that, I would be like, yeah, this guy's a car salesman, snake oil televangelist type.
Oh, come on! What is it? Is it my red tie? Is it my bad hair? What is it?
It's
that is
it's the whole package.
That is to me a very funny thing, because I've known Clay since 2016, and literally, I went to Bible school, so that was sort of, I grew up in a Christian home, went to Bible school. I was a drug addict, alcoholic by the time I was 13 years old till I was about 24. And then I had a very real experience with God and just gave my life back to God and said, I can't handle this anymore. This is too crazy. Well, anyways, I meet Clay in 2016 and we have a successful company. We're doing well. Things are going well. And Clay, in my first meeting, I literally said something about God, and Clay cut me off in the middle of the conversation. And he goes, I'm just going to tell you two things that we're never going to talk about. If I'm going to be your business coach, there's two things we're never talking about. We're never going to talk about God, and we're never going to talk about politics. If you bring it up again,
now you do it all day long.
He literally said, if you bring it up again, I'm throwing you out of my office.
Yeah.
And then I went home to my wife and I said, I met a guy today and I had a really weird interaction with him, but I actually feel like God told me this man has the call of God on his life, but he has no idea there even is such a thing.
Yeah.
And that was literally what I told my wife when I got home that night. And then, over time, and you can go watch the documentary on the Reawaken tour and see the whole story. But basically, I felt like God told me to help him find the call that's on his life. Mm-hmm. And, Ephesians chapter 1, 17 through 21 talks about the call of God on people's lives. And so it's interesting that you kind of make the comment about televangelists. I think that Clay has always been a truth seeker. Like that is the number one thing that I know about Clay. The other thing that I see about Clay is Clay sees patterns in things unlike anybody I've ever met. Like that was the very first thing I really noticed when he started coaching our company, which by the way, in that time went from 16 million a year, 24 million a year in 2016 to about 100 million in revenue in like the first 4 years. And now up into the almost 200 million in just 6 years that he's been coaching us. But the interesting thing was he would point out a pattern about something that was happening in our business and he would put his finger right on it. And it's just that he's always seeking truth and he's not afraid to tell you the truth even when you don't want to hear it. So he would say something to me about our business and I'm like, Clay, I've been doing this my whole life. I think I would know if that was, the right way to do this. And he's like, well, I'm just telling you, that's how it's going to be. That's what the truth is. If you don't want to listen to it, you don't have to, but I'm telling you. Yeah. And so he kept just pointing out truths to me. Finally, my pain point in my business would get so great. I would go, okay, this isn't working. And I would go back to Clay and I was like, what was that you told me like a month and a half ago that I didn't listen to? And he's like, well, what I told you is this pattern. I see it over and over again. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to change it. I'm going to try it. And I started at the beginning. I was like, I'm going to prove you wrong because I know what I'm doing. And you can't just come in here and tell me that, after all my years of experience, that that's how it's going to work. Yeah. He would point something out. I would change it. And then all of a sudden things would take off in a positive direction. So I think those are the two things about Clay that he has done for me over and over again is he'll put his finger on the truth of a situation. He's very good at that by looking at the patterns that are happening. And all through this, Reawaken series and everything we've been doing with the tour, that's been his goal over and over and over again. And I think that everyone is in the process of trying to figure out truths about a lot of things in their lives. And I think even some of the things Clay started with have changed over time as we've seen, different speakers. He's like, we'll have a speaker on there and then the speaker's not on there anymore because different things happen and you start to realize other patterns and other truths. Mm-hmm. So,
I love that you described me though as that because that's so funny. I was like a disc jockey.
That's hilarious.
Ever. So that's funny to me. Okay.
I work in the wedding business. I'm very familiar with you people and I get it. You gotta be the flamboyant and loud ones and more power to you. It certainly serves your purpose in, emceeing and, putting on these events as well, I'm sure. But real quick before I let you go, tell everybody, I don't know, any final thoughts you have, especially on this Trump thing. If you could give me one final sales pitch on maybe why I should vote for Donald Trump, because it would take a lot for me to vote Donald Trump at this point. Or better yet, people who are kind of where I'm at, give the final pitch on why they should go with somebody who's supporting Trump. Despite all the things that we talked about today.
Well, again, I would just say this. If you were somewhere to come to our tour and you go to the event. And by the way, that website is timetofreeamerica.com, timetofreeamerica.com. And you show up at the event and you see Bobby Kennedy Jr. totally coming out against Fauci, exposing what's in the shots, et cetera. Mm-hmm. But his last name is Kennedy. Mm-hmm. And I'm personally bothered that not bothered. I am frustrated that he won't come out and just reject the Democrat Party. But he won't. Mm-hmm. But I still believe he's doing a very good job of exposing Fauci. Yeah. As it relates to Trump, I believe Trump did a very effective job in many ways about fighting for our freedoms. And if you don't believe me or don't agree, that's okay. But see how quickly inflation / hyperinflation has occurred since he left. See how the world has fallen apart everywhere. See how you see Putin now with Ukraine, and you've got China and Taiwan. Seems like everywhere you look, north, south, east, west, there's a war. There's a rumors of war. There's a pestilence. There's a famine. So I think he did a very good job in a very difficult world as a leader of the free world. However, my prayer, my hope is that he is filled with the Holy Spirit. And just in the way that God arrested Saul's attention and he became Paul, and just in the way that he arrested my attention and I became what looks to be a televangelist, according to you. So, sure. I hope that God will arrest President Trump's attention and fill him with the Holy Spirit. And he will come back.
Lock up his attention. Sorry.
I would like him to do it so he can come back. And I mean this, though. I can see it happening. Rebuke and reject all these people lying to him and come out and say, America, I apologize for pushing these. I was told this. I've now discovered that. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to open the economy quickly. This is what I've heard from people close to him. He wanted to open the economy quickly, didn't want America to be destroyed. So I thought this was the best way to do it. Turns out it wasn't right. Please accept my forgiveness, and let's get this country open and fire these idiots and arrest these people.
He did say that Georgia opened too soon, for what it's worth.
And I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying. I have no disagreement. This is not a President Trump apologist tour. I'm just trying to share the truth out there, and I do believe that President Trump has been significantly better than Biden, and I really do hope that he understands the truth about what's inside the shots.
Yeah, and I want to be very clear. I'm not trying to discredit anything that you guys are doing. I think it's fantastic bringing these minds together. I just want people to approach the Trump thing with caution and not throw all their eggs into the Trump basket, or think that he's going to save you somehow. If he does come out and denounce the vaccines or denounce some of these people or whatever, if he actually does some of these things, then hey, he'll have my support. But it'll be too late to vote for him by that point. But
now, to be clear, you have people like Bill Gates or Stephen Colbert openly pushing CRISPR. Mm-hmm. Not even not in a way of I was deceived, right? Now they're saying, yeah, we should implement CRISPR gene editing technology. Yes. I mean, they're into transhumanism. You watch people like Musk, they love transhumanism, Neuralink. You watch Yuval Noah Harari. Yes, transhumanism. They love it. You watch Ray Kurzweil. I mean, that's how crazy the far left is. So I hope we don't go there.
No, I agree with you 100%. Now, why are you not interested in the Libertarian Party? Is it just because we've been mostly terrible for the last 20 years?
No, I just want it's the thing where we need to win. And, I don't know, this is an example. If someone would hate me if I was a business consultant for you, or you'd love me. But my DJ company, okay, when I first started it, I DJ'd any party at all. This is before Christ, though, okay? So I'm at Cronies Bar. I'll do it. People are like, why would you do that gig? You make $150. I'm like, because it's a gig. I DJ'd at the Holiday Inn Select, true story, 6 nights a week. I DJ'd for Outback on Trade Out. I was DJing, cruise ships, boats, proms, hell gigs. I DJ'd for a nursing home in North Tulsa, which is not a good area to be in. I can go on and on. People were going, man, you're doing 7 shows a week. You are sick. My mom, my family, my wife are like, you're crazy. You're going to get shot. You know where you're DJing tomorrow? And I'm going, that's all I got. Beggars can't be choosers. I got to pay the bills.
Yeah.
But then, 5 years later, people are like, why won't you go to North Tulsa for a show? I'm like, because I'm not a beggar and I'm not going. And so I'm very pragmatic in that of I want a libertarian to win. Oh, I do. But you almost need a pop culture libertarian. That's even a thing. It'd be a pop indie artist. I mean, you almost need a Joe Rogan meets Jesus candidate. I mean, to have that ever happen, I mean, you need somebody who's just so. I'm serious though. You almost need, I mean, it's like. But again, I think people that fear the Lord are people that are wise. I think wisdom comes from when you fear the Lord. I think fearing the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And I think and so I'm just trying to find a candidate that would just. But again, I feel like President Trump is the best shot we've got right now.
Right on. I respect it. I may not agree with you on everything, but I do respect you guys. I respect the work that you're doing. I hope that you keep doing it. Shannon Lee in the comments says, shout out to y'all throwing Bible verses out. I'm lucky if I remember my phone number. Yeah, good on you guys. You definitely always show up with your research done and your props and everything to share. But tell everybody where they can find you and all the Rewake America, everything that you got going on.
Yeah, if you go to timetofreeamerica.com, we have 2 tickets or 2 events remaining. We've got, I think, like 10 tickets left for Batavia, New York this Friday and Saturday. So you go to timetofreeamerica.com. It's Rochester. It's right between Rochester and Buffalo. It's called Batavia. We have, I think, 10 tickets left. You can get your tickets at timetofreeamerica.com. Then we have tickets available for Washington, Idaho in September. And then October, we're going to Pennsylvania. And for all of our events, you can name your price. I'm not attacking Charlie Kirk or Kennedy or anybody who does events where they charge, $1,000 to go to an event. Or I'm just saying for our events, I want it to be affordable because I grew up without money and I know what that's like. And I want everyone to be able to afford the event. So if you go to timetofreeamerica.com, timetofreeamerica.com, you can book your tickets there. You can name your price. And if you want to text a request for a ticket, I have an envelope. And on this back of this, let me write this on this envelope here. This is the phone number you can text. This happens to be my phone number too. So if you want to send a very long form hate message, I suppose people do that too. I'm not soliciting those, but that happens sometimes. But this is my phone number, 918-851-0102, 918-851-0102. You can text that number for faster service to get those tickets. And for a chance to look at what Satan's Spawn looks like, this is Yuval Noah Harari. And if you want to see what Dr. Evil Personified looks like, this is Klaus Schwab. And if you want to see what Mr. Bigglesworth looks like in a human form with enough CRISPR technology, this is Mr. Bigglesworth, the hairless cat of Klaus Schwab. So this is Klaus Schwab and his hairless cat, who through using CRISPR technology may have made this man / hairless cat, Yuval Noah Harari, a.k.a. Mr. Bigglesworth.
I like it. Seems like a good way to end. You just had to prove me right on the complimenting you on your props. So props to your props. Well, Clay and Aaron, thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Don't be afraid of monkey folks. Don't be afraid of the monkey folks.
Well, you guys have a good one. Thank you for giving me the time. I hope to do it again soon. We'll be in touch, and I hope you are right about everything. But you guys take care. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks a lot, brother. Take care.
Appreciate
Bye.
it.
Yep. See ya. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning into this stream, this random Monday stream. Those of you who did, I'm planning on doing a couple of these a little bit more often here and there. Maybe not every Monday, but as often as makes sense because, I've got all these ads that I got to divvy up and spread out, and it gets a little bit clustered there on the Wednesdays. But maybe we'll do some Monday news bonuses as well, things like that to make the main episodes not quite so ridiculously long. But thank you for tuning in. It's been fun, and yeah, it's going to be what it's going to be. Like, I hope that they're right on Trump having everybody's best interest in mind, and a lot of people thought that the first time Trump went into power, and I was not convinced. I'm less convinced now than I was then, even though I didn't vote for him either time. But I am certainly open to being wrong, and if there were just a bunch of hurdles in his way that kept him from accomplishing anything, then so be it. And I will happily watch the shit show happen as he does it again, as I think he probably will. But as you know, I am 100% for Biden 2024, just because I am chaotic neutral and would like to see what that looks like. Just make them own it. Make them own propping that man up for another 4 years. Just watch them suffer and squirm for another 4 years would be kind of beautiful, as horrifying and as awful as it would be to our economy and our society and humanity. There's a part of me that wants that. But hey, if they're right, if these guys are correct, and Donald Trump just, had some things that he couldn't overcome, then I'm fine. Let's see. I won't hold my breath, but that takes nothing away from their event that they're putting on, because they have a lot of fascinating guests, a lot of people that they disagree with, sounds like politically, Robert Kennedy Jr., but people who are all meeting together on this
freedom of speech and freedom of association, freedom of ideas mindset. So that's great. And we need more of that, even if they're not correct. Doesn't matter. We should be doing that. We should be supporting that, because that is the only way that we stop, this from continuing. You know what this is. This is the Orwellian future. We now live in it. This is the future. Welcome. I'm sorry, but we'll get through it together in one way or another. Until Wednesday, guys, please carry on doing what you're doing and share the show with a friend, and I will see you ideally here on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Corn time. We'll be roasting the news once again with, I'm sure, a very special guest or two. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. Follow at TSIDpod and go on over to thesystemsdown.tv to do all the things. Do all the things. Like, share, subscribing, stuff like that. Find all the links. Watch the show. You can even sign up for the Patreon through the website. Check it out, thesystemsdown.tv. All right, that's enough rambling for me. I'll talk to you guys on Wednesday. Until then, question everything, stay uncomfortable, and peace out. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe on your way out and help us change the world one uncomfortable conversation at a time. And if you like what you hear and you want to hear more, go join the Downers Club at patreon.com/thesystemsdown for bonus episodes of the show every single week. Until next time, please continue to question everything, stay uncomfortable, and I'll talk to you then. Thanks.
This has been a Goulash Media production. GoulashMedia.net.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.